All right, here we go. Episode 3 of The Ramble begins. I am here with Hal Rudnick. That's my guest today, sketch comedy hero, Hal Rudnick. And this is going to be the first podcast post-Trump, post-insurrection. So it's going to be puppy dogs and rainbows. What do you think, Hal? What does the future hold for us?
I mean, the clouds have parted. I think America is perfect now, and all the problems are fixed.
Exactly. COVID, not even an issue.
All the racists stopped being racist.
Overnight.
Yeah, pretty perfect now.
Magical. Unbelievable.
Mervyn, thanks for having me. Jokes aside, it was a nice day yesterday. A real party for libtards such as myself. And yeah, I think that, there's a lot of mess to clean up.
Yeah, I agree. There's going to be a lot of unifying. There's going to be a lot of repair. I wanted to see what your thoughts were on Donald Trump's biggest con, because for me, when I look back in the 4 years, the reason why I thought he got in there in the first place, I mean, there's a lot of reasons, obviously, but I think the biggest reason I thought was that he sold himself as some sort of messiah for the blue collar worker, the labor force. He was somehow pro-union, which turns out was a big con. I mean, if you look at the Rust Belt, they unanimously voted against him in 2020. Yeah,
the goddamn guy has never done an honest day's work in his life. So that is a pretty good con.
Yeah, I mean, if you look back at when he was just a New York businessman, quote unquote businessman, he was the stories were coming out, and he was like stiffing contractors and stiffing this and stiffing that, and then filing for bankruptcy with one of his shell companies.
Stiffing porn stars, heyo, yeah. Stiffing in another way. Anyway, yeah, I mean, he's a total con man, and like when you ask like what's Dom the Con's biggest con, it's like where do you begin? I mean, it's amazing that he tricked all of these religious leaders into thinking he was this religious. He had turned the corner. He became this devout person, or he was pious in any way. The fact that they were able to endorse him and get on his side. I mean, I think many were probably wise to it, but there were people who thought he was divinely sent.
Yeah, and there is a big issue going on right now with QAnon. And it seems that like a lot of religious people are getting sucked in, like where they felt like he was the person that was going to eliminate pedophilia in the world somehow.
Well, and not just eliminate pedophilia, but eliminate the cabal of Satanists who eat children, which like...
Oh, right.
Yeah, I mean, that's how deep the craziness of that idea runs. And it's like this guy who probably has, committed statutory rape himself. I mean, you hear these stories about him sponsoring the Miss Teen USA pageant and then walking into the dressing room while young women are getting changed. I mean, no moral compass. I think the thing is, he's such a garbage person that they had to swing the pendulum into an insane other direction, that he's this divine savior, in order to reverse course of people seeing that he was a garbage person. They're like, oh, you know what? The only way we're going to be able to get people past the fact that he's this philanderer, a cheat, a con man, a bad businessman, is that let's create a fairy tale.
Yep.
And yeah, I think the people who ascribe to that, because I've got a few of them on my social media feeds, especially on Facebook, like a few people that I haven't spoken to. in years,
especially on Facebook. Yeah.
have become Q-centric.
Oof.
And yeah, it's frightening to see these posts and how they've just bought it hook, line, and sinker. And I get it. Like these, child abuse and abduction and sexual abuse are horrific, nightmarish things. But these stories and how they connect these loose threads where, this shit went down in the basement of a pizza parlor in Washington, D.C. and, X, Y. It's really, sad to see people so bought in to this thing.
Yeah, it's weird. To me, it's one of these things where I see a lot of hijacking. Like there was a legitimate kind of save the children movement. You know what I mean? But it wasn't. It wasn't QAnon. It wasn't a bunch of people they're making up conspiracy theories and flooding the phone lines of these law enforcement agencies that are legitimately trying to find people that are human trafficked.
Oh yeah, and there's actually a charity called Save the Children, which deals with children who are hungry and less fortunate overseas. Like Save the Children is a real thing, and I think the hijacking of that name and that phrase "Save the Children" is probably hurting actual real Save the Children causes.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting because Facebook, like you saw it, I saw it, and it really kind of upset me when I saw like young women starting to share these things, because it was like tugging on the heartstrings of young women who are actually having kids themselves. Mm-hmm. Right. So it's such a sinister ploy to me when I look at the overall thing. It just seems like it was thought up as, what can we rally people around? Like, what can we rally? Because like, if you're a conservative, you're not going to be like, let's get people on board mm-hmm. for cutting the corporate tax. You know what I mean? Like, that sounds like how are you going to rally people around that?
Right. There's a lot of red tape, and yeah, it's tough to like get people to clearly understand that.
Yeah. Like let's cut taxes for the wealthy. You're not going to rally a lot of people for that. I just feel like saving the kids, that get a lot of people, a lot of moms into that, pull them in, mm-hmm. hook, line, and sinker kind of thing.
Yeah. Frankly, you're a monster if you don't think that children should be safe and protected from kidnapping or sexual abuse, etc. So, yeah, it's a kind of a black and white issue. Keep children safe, yes, and then that's where they dig their claws in and permeate with all these crazy theories, conspiracy theories, and these types of theories have like deep roots in history, and often they've been used a lot in anti-Semitic campaigns. You can trace them back centuries, and you can even trace them back to World War II Nazi Germany as well. These weird tropes that they use to attack Jews specifically. Here, I think it's they tie it to like globalists, quote unquote. And then you go down the rabbit hole and like they connect the dots to George Soros and all this nonsense they talk about.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's everywhere. Yeah, that is the biggest hunk of bullshit I've ever seen.
Yeah, but like when you talk about like his cons, it's like so many to list. You have the fact that he got people to disregard the national security agencies of the United States and just take his word, disregard journalists and just take his word, scientists, and then the democracy. The amount of people he got to believe that the election was somehow fraudulent.
Right.
Like, look what he's done to the very fabric of this country. The last poll I saw, and who knows, but this was like a CNN poll, 80% of Republican voters believe that the election was fishy.
Yeah, rigged. Yeah. Rigged. Oh my gosh.
80.
Yeah, now they're getting sued by Dominion, the actual voting software company, suing the lawyers that spread them.
My Pillow guy at a business.
I feel like we need a My Pillow guy sketch coming up. I don't know.
Absolutely. I mean, that guy is he's begging for sketch comedy.
Yeah. So you have an anti-masker sketch, right?
Yes.
Was that what I think I saw it on your feed?
Yeah. I think that might be my pinned tweet.
Nice.
My anti-mask character. Yeah, he won't wear a mask because his breath is too bad.
Oh, okay.
And it forces him to smell his own breath and live in that personal hell. So he just can't do it. And then also he doesn't want to mask his kids, because if you mask your child, then when they have to say their prayers or something.
Oh my goodness!
How will the Lord hear their prayers?
Yeah.
Because the mumbling and a baby, a young child, they don't even know how to breathe yet. And then you add a mask into the equation. So yeah, I made that a few months ago. I'm, the anti-mask folks are, it's the source of endless comedy and tragedy.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by it. It's really interesting. Now the new anti-masker approach is, I think it was Rand Paul, his son, the libertarian.
Yeah. So
apparently he is telling people to not wear a mask post-vaccine, which, on the surface sounds somewhat reasonable, but there's no way to tell, if anybody has COVID or not, because you could be asymptomatic. And unless, you get your temperature checked or you're hacking your ass off. So the requirement is still going to be, even post-vaccine, after you get the 2 shots, that you're going to have to wear the mask until, 100 million or something like that, where the cases get down to a certain level and there's a certain amount of people that are vaccinated across the United States or whatever, to where that's when they're going to relax all the masks.
And then what do you have to do? What's the solution? Carry around your proof of vaccination and show that to get into places? That's so asinine. He's just asking for people to be irresponsible. We need to contact Rand Paul's neighbor to go back into his yard and smack him across the face one more time. The guy's a schmuck. Did you hear in Joe Biden's inauguration, Joe Biden took the controversial stance of saying that domestic terrorists and white supremacists are bad. And Rand Paul was offended by that.
Right. It's thinly veiled as being called racist and all this stuff. Dude, yes, because that's what happened. That's who came up the damn steps holding Confederate flag fucking, Jesus. How does he?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. That's, unless Rand Paul thinks it was Antifa.
I heard that. It was Matt Gaetz too. The other one, the other special guy. Yeah. He keeps sounding the same stupid alarm of Antifa. It's like,
I just pray for Nestor. Matt Gaetz' son.
Oh, right.
You know about?
Yeah, that is a curious situation. Yeah, what's going on there? Maybe QAnon should look into that.
QAnon needs to make sure Nestor is okay.
Yeah. So when did you become a master of the dark art of character comedy?
Well,
when did you get into comedy is something I've been starting to ask people.
I actually wrote a comedy sketch in either 2nd or 3rd grade that I performed in front of the class. I remember 2. One was about Cupid. I think it was called Stupid Cupid, and he was making bad matches, like he was shooting his arrows at the wrong people. And another one was a commercial parody for a product called Rock Bottom Toilet Paper, where I taped rock, like little stones, to toilet paper.
Oh, nice.
And I think they were all like really SNL quality. That was my first remembrance of maybe doing comedy, and then I was in the Boy Scouts when I was maybe 12 years old, 13 years old. And one of my favorite things to do was to write comedy sketches and song parodies around the campfire. So we had these campfires where people would do skits. And that was my absolute favorite thing about Boy Scouts. And I wrote a couple that were some deemed too hot for the campfire because there was maybe like they got it's not quite dirty, but like, you know, just mentioning like ass or something like that. I have my favorite thing I did that like we did it a bunch of times and had like revolving lyrics was this song parody called the Kmart Rap, and we would rap about just how amazingly terrible Kmart was.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. They just closed the one on 3rd Street. I was like, how long is this thing going to be open for?
Well, you know what they put in there, I guess pre-pandemic, was a Britney Spears museum.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I hope that's around when things get a little safer and we can go into places again. I would love to visit the Britney Museum, but yeah. So those are.
I drove by it. It's no longer it's a Christmas apparel outlet, which is still up even though it's past Christmas.
Christmas apparel.
Yeah, like Christmas themed sweaters and Christmas themed.
Sure, some jammies. But I will say, as far as getting into comedy, dysfunctional upbringing always helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. The funny thing about me is when I was younger, I didn't have a dad. He had passed away when I was only 1. But
sorry.
Yeah. But my mom kind of like played the role of like the mom and the dad. And she did it kind of like in a really funny way. She would make a lot of funny jokes. And I started realizing what she was doing. And that's kind of like when I started realizing the value of comedy.
Nice.
So I wanted to talk to you about where I found you. I found you. I was taking courses at the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater in Los Angeles, and it's there's actually 2. There's one. There was 2 in Los Angeles. There was one on Sunset, which was kind of a newer building. It was. The parking was on the top. The middle section had like a row of classes where like teachers would help develop improvisers and sketch comedy writers. And at the bottom, you had the stage. And when you're in the classes, you hear these rumbles. And we're in LA, so we're always thinking, oh shit, so earthquake. Nope, it's just a fucking Audi.
Yeah.
But that one had closed down, unfortunately, because of the coronavirus pandemic, sadly. And I wanted to get your thoughts on that because I know you obviously did a lot of shows there, and then you also taught a couple courses there as well.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool complex, and the complex having a coffee shop as well, and a second stage that was more of an experimental and student stage that provided the opportunity to really develop community at the theater.
Yeah.
And that's a nice thing to have because we're kind of all in this thing together, trying to do creative stuff, trying to further our success in comedy and entertainment, and being around people like-minded. It was like a little college campus, you know, and with all sorts of comedy doings afoot. There were podcast studios there. There was a big green screen room that I used for shoots a few times. And yeah, it's unfortunate, but you know, that's what this pandemic has done. It's come in and devastated so many businesses.
I worry because it seems like this thing is just devastating the area as far as our culture goes. It's like stripping us of our culture. So I hope we able to rebuild. But there is one theater that they still have up. It's the smaller theater on Franklin, which kind of reminds me of one of the, I grew up in San Diego, as like one of these like punk rock clubs or something like that. It's very small venue, but it's got that worn in feel. It's a nice little theater. I did 2019. I was able to put up a live show there.
Yeah.
And
oh, cool.
Yeah, it was. I took the last sketch course, and we were able to use that theater for the show.
Nice. Sketch 301.
Yeah, Sketch 301. Giant nerd. So it was Star Wars based,
cool.
But it was fun. It was cool. It definitely reminded me of those San Diego clubs where you just kind of like walk in, and then all of a sudden it's like, who's playing, bro? Oh, it's some band called, I don't know, Blink 182 or something, you know. So
nice. Yeah, that theater is my favorite theater to perform at. That's where I've done most of my shows at UCB. You know, I've been at UCB since 06, 07.
Oh, wow.
Actually. Yeah, I started, like I took a class there in 06, and the theater opened in 05. And yeah, I love that theater. I love the proximity of the audience to the stage, like they're right on top of you. That was always my preferential theater between that and Sunset. Sunset was great because it had all these amenities and the community aspect, but just as a theater to perform, Franklin is my fave. And it's kind of ironic that the Sunset Theater closed right after the Target that was being built over there finally opened. We had spent so much time waiting for this. Oh, it's going to be a magical time when you can go across the street and just hang out at this big new Target. And then, the pandemic hit and cut to, the Target. So the theater shuts down temporarily, we thought. The Target opens, and then the theater's done. So we never got that magical synergy of UCB Sunset and Target joining forces to really make it a golden age of walking across the street and filling time.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I missed out. I mean, we could have gone to Target after a good show, bought ourselves a floor lamp to celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
For years, that thing was held up in some sort of like building code or some sort of
but it wasn't building code
red tape or something. That I guess they built it too high or something. I mean, it is huge. This thing it's a multiplex, and that thing is finally done. It's very shiny, and now Upright Citizens Brigade on Sunset is no more. But there is some hope. The coronavirus package that was sent or that was signed by Trump actually was the last one had $15 billion for the Save Our Stages program. So hopefully we get to keep some more stages here because I think it's vital. It's vital to the community.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe though, if I just hope people are able to go out and like resume normal life and theaters, restaurants, and everything. But if theaters close, hopefully we'll be in a place where new theaters can reopen and we can keep it going. But it would be a shame to see the UCB on Franklin close. That would be because at least there's one. But we went through this earlier. So we've had stages close in New York, the UCB. So tough times. Yeah. So many people, are affected, and there's so many memories and good times. And it seems like it was not so long ago that it just opened because the theater, that space on Sunset was not that old, but it's
you had some sort of show there, right? It was the UCB show on one of those paid services. I forget, it was a paid streaming service, right?
Oh yeah, CISO.
That's the one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Weren't you a part of that?
Yeah, I did a couple of sketches. I wrote a sketch that my sketch group, the Midnight Show, performed, and then I also did a solo character bit, and that was a lot of fun. CISO, like so many other streaming, went the way of Quibi, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And but it was a fun experiment, and it was an exciting thing to be involved with.
Do you think any of these CISO Quibi kind of things will ever kind of be successful? Because it seems like every time something pops up, it's a great idea, and then enthusiasm fades after, I don't know, a couple of months.
It's tough. It seems like the business models get a little too ambitious. The budgets for things get a little too big, and then it's like, do you have the assets? Do you have the IP that will attract people to subscribe? I mean, what was the other one with Sarah Silverman and Michael Cera and a bunch of folks? Jash.
Oh, I remember that. Oh, yes.
Yeah, Jash was another one. And then even successful sites like Cracked and College Humor and Funny or Die have seen just the market change. And so it's like, what is the thing? I don't know. You need a breakout hit. And like what'll be the Mandalorian for comedy?
That's why my sketch was Star Wars based, because it was tough to look away from that one.
Oh yeah, no, Star Wars gets the click, and but yeah, it's very tough. So I think I enjoy watching sketches on Instagram, like or Twitch.
Oh, really?
Or sorry. I do some comedy shows on Twitch, but TikTok and Twitter, like you just scroll through, you see people posting a lot of stuff, or TikTok, short form sketches. So a platform like that, where it's not only comedy, but you get a little bit of everything, but just solely having a comedy based network for people. I mean, it seems like it's tough to sustain.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked about the demise of Funny or Die. I mean, it's still around, but it's nowhere near what it was. I mean, it was like they're producing original content. They were producing everything under the sun, really. I mean, articles and memes and this. I mean, it was like a factory there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They still are, heavily involved in TV production. They're focused way more on that end now. But the site is, I mean, we digest things differently now. Like we want, did it make it to our Facebook feed? Did someone repost it, or did someone send it to us? But going to a destination for comedy, just for comedy, seems to be much less frequent than it was, say, in 2004 or whenever Funny or Die started.
Yeah. And back to UCB for a minute. I remember I was on a Facebook group, or I still am actually. It was a LA writers group. So anytime you want some like a little pep talk to like keep yourself focused in writing, you go
get after it.
Yeah, you go log into this group and it's very supportive. Everybody's like, put that bottle down, boy, and start writing at least one page of dialogue today.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody had posted an article of UCB and the problems people had, like getting onto certain teams and things like that. They were talking about racism specifically, and they were talking about how there was a lot of problems with diversity in general. And I remember going there. I took 3 classes. I took all 3 of the sketch writing program, and they were spaced out though. I did take them all at once. I took the one in 2015, one in 2017, and one in 2019.
Sure.
And I remember going in 2015, and it felt like you were in Idaho, and it was kind of like, hey, Bob, Chad, but by the time I was done, by 2019, I felt like there was some progress made on that front. I felt like I'm pretty sure I was like the only straight white guy in my class in 2019. And so I think there has been some progress there on that front.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I hear you, because I started out in a time where diversity, and I'm not saying that I agree with this, but the reality back in maybe 07 when I got on my first Herald team or whatever, 06, it was diversity was having one woman and 7 guys. Oh, we have a woman, or we have 2 women and 6 men, and that's not diversity. That's like the that is not the proper, not a solid ratio. So I think it did absolutely improve over time, and there was more of an emphasis and attention to it and an awareness of it, and it kept growing as I was there. But that being said, you can't make someone feel like they are the quote unquote other, that, oh, we're allowing you in and we know you are different, you are other. Like, who is other? Who is, so does that mean someone is okay? A group of people is okay? So if you are making people feel like the other, even if it's not intentionally, even with best intentions, then there's an issue there. And I think it's really important that people in groups that are underrepresented, people of color, LGBTQ community, and people of different genders are able to make us aware, make the UCB community aware of these issues. So going forward, we can create a better model where it says, hey, we all belong. You are here, be the most of yourself or what you want to be. And you're not just welcomed, your voice is celebrated. And everyone should have that feeling. I think, that is the ideal. So even with best intentions, I understand. I mean, at least a little bit. I'm basically, I'm white, Jewish, cisgender, straight male. And so I have had a different experience, but it takes listening to people who are different than you and making everyone feel welcome. And, you don't want to make people feel like they're a token or like, okay, we're allowing you in, but you're not the norm. Like that needs to be addressed. Yeah. So, just because you've been working on it, it's like, oh, we have a diversity program. We have plenty of people who are different. What is that different? Maybe even the language, just saying someone's different. Is that okay? Right. So there's a lot of learning. And I think, especially in 2020, things, in this country came to a head in a lot of ways with Black Lives Matter and a lot of racial issues. It is time to look at the way we view things and talk about things and make sure everyone feels welcome and celebrated, and that their voice is just as warranted and necessary for when it comes to performing and their place in the theater. So, I think it got better, but there's still, you want to make sure everyone feels safe and welcomed and celebrated.
Yeah. It's funny. I seem to fill out like a lot of forms, like every month. It's always some sort of form, and there's always a question.
What kind of form? Who's sending you all these forms?
It's constant. I don't know what it is. Like I get mailed a lot of stuff. I don't know. People just want my info, but so I'm confident. I'm constantly filling this out, and I get this question, and I get the question about race a lot, and I stopped putting Caucasian down as my race. I stopped doing that. I started putting choose not to specify. And I was like, why not? Let's live in a country where race isn't a thing.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I do that as well sometimes myself.
Yeah. Actually. I kind of have like this situation anyway where it's like my mother's an immigrant. She's from Argentina, and Argentina is kind of like a Spanish Italian thing. And so I was always like a little different in school. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't like 100% white American, white bread guy from Iowa. You know what I mean? I'm just kind of like, a little more like exotic than Fred over there in the corner. But
sure.
So it was really interesting, like especially when I took like one of my last sketch classes, there was some debate on whether or not I should be writing a dialogue that made a certain Latin person have an accent. Like it was like it became like this discussion where it was like maybe we shouldn't do that because you're white, and if you make this person have an accent, it's somehow like condescending or something like that or whatever. I forget like the exact wording. Obviously, it's been a couple of years now, but I had to kind of tell everybody like, just by the way, I'm actually Spanish Italian. Like I'm from, like my mother is speaks Spanish. I'm kind of like Latin, so like and so it became a thing. Well, it's like, well, you look white. So right. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna fucking choose not to specify and we're gonna just put this shit down. like we're gonna end this whole discussion because I'm no longer white or Spanish I'm just a fucking human being. That's it.
Yeah, I hear you. It's again, being in the comedy landscape in LA for like 20 years now, I've absolutely seen things change precipitously. It started out like people could basically play anything, like as long as you're not doing blackface or something, then
right.
die. Like, hey, if you were going to play kind of some low-hanging fruit or some sort of caricature of a person.
Right.
And to, poor effect. Like I remember one time I was in a comedy show and a white guy was playing a very heavily stereotyped Asian tourist with a camera and taking pictures of everything and talking in a thick Asian accent. And I actually asked him about it after the show. This was like in 2002, maybe. And he said, hey, people laughed at it, so I'm going to do it. And I was kind of shocked by it. And then, and then over time, it was like, well, if you look like the thing, you can play the thing. But I've seen it evolve more and more. And yeah, a person's ethnicity should not be a costume. A person's ethnicity is like someone else's ethnicity. It's not the butt of your joke. It shouldn't be.
Right.
But as to your situation, if this thing is part of your heritage, your culture, who you are, but then you don't necessarily, outwardly seem like to exude that. I had a friend who I was in a sketch group with. He was half Japanese, but he did not look Asian at all. But he wanted to play a lot of Japanese characters and do things like play a sushi chef or whatever. And it was always
I don't know why I knew you were going to say sushi chef. I don't know. I was like he's going to say sushi chef.
maybe we need to both break our stereotypes and not yet. but he would encounter that same thing. So yeah, it's an interesting question. I was directing a show at UCB, and there was a popular a radio personality in the show, and he does a lot of characters and voices. And one of the voices he does is a black person, and he's a white guy. And I told him that, he shouldn't do it. And he was like, we had a conversation about it, but and he wasn't. I mean, yeah, I believe that there are portrayals that maybe you at this day and age, as we become more aware, you might want to avoid, for sure. So yeah, it's an interesting conversation.
Yeah, that would be really interesting, because then what if the guy is like a hip hop aficionado, and they have a certain way of speaking. Mm-hmm. Then you're in this other kind of like gray area. But for me, I wasn't even performing. I was the writer. The person mm-hmm. performing was visibly like the darker hair, the darker eyes. Definitely, you could say, okay, this person does appear.
They read as Latinx.
Exactly. Whereas the person writing it didn't read as Latinx, and mm-hmm. and it wasn't completely off base. It was taking place in Colombia. So it wasn't something that was like completely unnecessary, but yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting. It was eye opening. It really. So mm-hmm. It was one of the most interesting discussions I had there. And but yeah, overall, when I look at the whole thing in context, I do see definitely a heck of a lot of progress from 2015 to 2019, and it would be nice to continue that trend.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just, people should, continue to be aware, listen to voices who are different than yours, and just keep trying to do better. Keep trying to evolve.
Another thing I kind of want to, this is a weird segue from UCB to the Patriot Party. I know that it doesn't really seamlessly connect, but I really wanted to talk about this because this is something that came up the other day, and it was a really, really salty Donald Trump, really upset about losing, and Mitch McConnell came out and said, basically admonished him and admonished the mob of rioters at the Capitol. And so he proposed a new party called the Patriot Party, and the Patriot Party has a logo mm-hmm. of a lion on it. And so now here we have the hijacking of the word patriot and the hijacking of the image of a freaking lion. Now, I'm offended. I'm a Leo. Okay. I have a tattoo. I was 18 and I was drunk in Portland, and I got a tattoo of a lion on my arm. Okay. So now, if this thing comes to fruition, all of a sudden people are going to be like, yeah, hey buddy, you're part of the Patriot Party, aren't you?
Oh man.
Like, no,
yeah,
no, I'm not.
Maybe you need to put something that makes it clearly Zodiac related, so you do not get pulled into these quote unquote patriots. Yeah, I agree with you when you use the word. They've hijacked the term patriot. Like when you watch clips of the Capitol insurrection, they use the word patriot. They're throwing that around a lot. They've hijacked patriot the same way a lot of people have hijacked the Punisher logo.
Oh my God, I saw that. I was coming back from Zion National Park, and I got gas in like some town outside of Vegas in Nevada. And yeah. I'm not kidding when I tell you this. Like I even have a photo of it. I was on one of those, where like there's like postcards and like magnets, those little things you turn, sunglasses, stuff like that.
Sure.
Those little things. I can't even think of where.
Not a kiosk, They
rotate.
Sure.
Yeah, and it'll come with.
If you're listening to this, leave a comment about what those things are called. Thank you.
Thanks. We appreciate it. Anyway, so one was like live,
a
laugh.
Would you call it a rack?
A spinning rack.
A spinning rack. Okay. I just want to nail this down. I just want to nail down the verbiage. Okay.
I feel like it's one word, and we're putting two words here, but
you want me to go ask my wife? I can go ask my wife.
I wonder if there's something we Google possibly, but now forget it.
Okay, we digress.
Yeah,
so you were there.
I was there, and I was spinning this thing, and I came across like a bunch of cheesy ones like Live, Laugh, Love, and then I came across this the Punisher logo with the freaking hair. It had Donald Trump's hair, with the wave and the fucking wig, and so like. I'm like, who the hell is going to put this on their car? It's a sticker, a giant sticker on this thing, and they're selling it at this gas station. And I'm like, man, if I was, held the IP on, the Punisher logos, man, I would go ballistic.
Yep. It's become this thing that would be, soldiers of fortune and it's the wrong term, but, these a lot of would-be patriots has adopted as their kick-ass insignia. And as a kid who was into comic books and who, I read The Punisher growing up, and I enjoyed the series with John Bernthal as the Punisher. But to see it co-opted by militias and things like that, it's kind of gross. And keep me a mile away from that logo now. So I think I just hope Joe Biden can rehabilitate the Punisher logo, among other things. But the Patriot Party, who knows? I mean, I feel like there's, again, we were talking about it before. Donald Trump got a lot of people to believe lies. So is it going to be this party that is fueled by these lies and half truths, and that where just like a fucking feed on the Parler website, that where ugly thoughts and theories can run free, where hate can thrive? Is it going to be a place where no moderation? Is it going to be a place where hate and white supremacy and rather than, I don't know, I would hope we can make this a more inclusive place. Again, just a kindler, gentler.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to like a boring presidency, but one with substance, though, with policy. Like, what policy are you looking forward to? Because I know for me, elements of the Green New Deal, I think, would make a big impact, specifically when you talk about the people in like the Rust Belt, the people who have to, work in these the jobs like oil drilling or natural gas, things like that. Fossil fuels, basically, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree. And also, if we want to have a future, that's going to last more than a lifetime or two, we have to make drastic changes. So I think more renewable energy, taking aspects of the Green New Deal, and an important thing that needs to be addressed is police reform. I think, allocating resources and getting more mental health professionals involved in certain instances. If there are circumstances where you don't need to send armed police officers, and instead sending mental health professionals to rectify a situation would be more advantageous and more conducive for more positive results. So, those are a couple of things. I think, ideally less defense spending. I mean, how many times, how much machinery and weapons do we need to destroy to blow up the world 10 times over? Universal healthcare
reform's it's got to be one of those things that they tackle within the first 2 years. I agree with with everything you said. I think going back though to this Green New Deal, it's before I was blocked by a friend of mine that I knew, who he was like a stunt double here in LA, but he fled Los Angeles when the lockdowns happened. So he went back to the Midwest.
Why did he block you?
He blocked me because I put a meme that basically said Joe Biden got more votes than Donald Trump, and the meme was like a guy wearing a MAGA hat, and he was looking at this, and the next little box had him saying, "I don't understand." Like he didn't understand. Like that's how it happened. Biden got more votes, Trump lost. Like there's nothing else to it.
Oh, was that the one where it said how Biden stole the election?
Yes,
he got more votes. And then the guy said, and then it says, "Oh, if only I knew how to read."
Oh, I'm sure there's variations of this thing. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, that's the same one. It's been circulating, but yeah, that's the one. That was the one that sent him over the edge. But I remember prior to him blocking me, there was a conversation done on Facebook, and it was talking about how he had gotten a job in fossil fuels, and it was prior to the election though. Prior to that, and he thought like Pennsylvania or Ohio or Wisconsin, I don't know, all these states there would vote overwhelmingly for Trump because of the fossil fuel industries. And I told him Joe Biden had a plan that will basically put forth green jobs, which will eventually replace the fossil fuel industry and make it a clean energy economy. And he was basically saying to me that, oh, well, that's just not going to happen. I mean, I'm like, what do you mean it's not going to happen? Like, nobody is like married to like oil. Nobody's like, this is my sweet crude American oil. I am so proud of this. Like, no, they want the fucking paycheck is what they want. They want the hourly, whatever, $35 or whatever, $50.
Sure. I mean, there might be a couple of people in Texas.
I mean, is Elon Musk going to make an electric lawnmower? I don't think so. Yeah. So we're going to have to save the American oil industry. That's what it was for. No, I don't think so. I totally think it's going to be all about replacing, like, instead of extracting oil, erecting a whatever those wind tunnel things or whatever they call them, the
wind turbine, wind tunnel, windmills. Yeah. I mean, it just has to be presented in a concrete way. I think that this is a viable, not just a viable energy resource, but a viable job and a viable industry that will replace these generational industries. I mean, the thing that's scary about it, I think, for a lot of people, it must be that it's been in their family for years, the coal industry or the oil industry. And if you say, okay, we're going to phase out, but these jobs will take their place, and we will give you the skills, and there will be the opportunities. If we're able to make kind of a smooth transition there, then hopefully there would be a chance. But because again, for the survival of the human race, it's necessary.
I have another person that hasn't blocked me yet, another conservative friend that always goes on to my Facebook and talks about how climate change is actually real, but it's not man-made, and therefore we should just keep polluting like crazy. So, I think it's just in order to stop Trump again, as far as this Patriot Party or whatever, I think those kind of jobs, like the Green New Deal, replacing some of these polluting jobs and hiring these people on similar paying or even higher paying jobs in the green economy will stop Trump in his tracks. I mean, if you look back on it in 2017, 2018, it was all the deregulation of all these kind of gross polluting companies.
Oh, yeah.
And the profits went through the roof.
Yep. And I think that's one of the reasons why Trump had a solid economy for several years, because he took out every regulation. So these folks are allowed to just go insane with polluting and fracking and without a care. Yep. And that allowed their profits to increase. So basically, he mortgaged our future for the stock market today.
Right, short-term gain. It's just disgusting. But out of all the scandals that we witnessed with Trump, I'm really hoping that we go back to like the really small, manageable scandals. Like, for instance, Joe Biden has a Peloton in his place. And there's a security concern about this Peloton.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that we can look back to the hysteria that Sean Hannity made with Obama's BlackBerry, Obama's tan suit, which Ronald Reagan actually once wore. Obama's displeasure with not being able to drive. He had a Chrysler 300 in Chicago.
It's so crazy, the level of scandal, whereas Trump had dozens of incidents that would have canceled anyone else's political career with good reason. Not normal. I think that's one thing, and that thankfully I hope we're past the Trump years, because it's not normal, and I think we were dangerously close to being like, well, I guess this is the norm. But back to the Peloton thing, what is it? Because the Peloton's connected to the internet, and they think like someone can bug the what's the security concern with the Peloton?
I think you can zap people through it. Like if you can hack them. No, I'm kidding. I have no idea. I think what it is I think there's this like a location thing. I think there's some sort of marking where like, where is the president? And I think it kind of pins him down in certain locations. So, I guess that would be some sort of national security threat if they know that he's in this room or something like. I don't know. That's just me throwing out what I think it is.
I think we need to hire the president's private spin instructor. Have them on call. They'll live in the East Wing. When Joe's ready for his daily workout, they'll come by and they'll have Joe's workout mix. What songs do you think are on Joe Biden's workout mix?
I'm thinking like Janet Jackson. I'm thinking Janet Jackson, Rhythm Nation.
Okay, I like that. Oh yeah, that would. I could see him getting hyped to some Janet. Janet is always classic. Miss Jackson, if you're nasty. But Joe, I also think he's a little bit of a classic rock guy. I think he could maybe a little taking care of business. Bachman Turner Overdrive.
I think so. I think maybe some Bob Dylan.
Oh, sure.
Maybe he's got like a little CBD,
very classic,
kind of low key little thing going on. So pops in a little Dylan, puts his feet up on the Resolute dash.
Put on some Dylan and then pop a CBD gummy.
Yeah. Just kind of,
CBD Shaw.
Yeah. And just kind of look at that painting of Benjamin Franklin and just admire it. So I want to thank you for coming on to the episode number 3 of the Ramble. I feel like we got a nice ramble there going. This is the first.
Thanks for letting me ramble.
Oh man, it was a pleasure. And what are you working on now during this COVID thing? I know you got some sketches. I saw your sketch there, the spaghetti restaurant. I thought that was really, really funny.
Oh yeah, Spaghetti House. Oh, thanks, man, and I appreciate you reposting it. That was mighty neighborly of your nerve.
It was funny.
Yeah, we talked about the UCB, and that stages aren't open right now. So I started a Twitch channel where I've been having some comedy shows. I have at least 2 regular monthly shows, and I'm looking to get a couple other shows started on the channel as well. You can find that at twitch.tv/chuckleface. Chuckleface is the Twitch channel. And then I also have a podcast where a buddy of mine and I, we talk what's new in streaming TV shows every week. It's called Binge Boys. You can find Binge Boys wherever you find podcasts. And we goof around. We have a lot of fun. And then we always give you something to come away with to like maybe take a look at, maybe watch. So find Binge Boys wherever you find your podcast. And then I'm doing a lot of different comedy things on social media. You can follow me at Hal Rudnick, HALRUDNICK, on Twitter and Instagram.
Oh, excellent. Awesome. I'm going to subscribe to your podcast. I didn't even know you had something like that going on. That's really funny.
Oh, thanks, brother. I appreciate it.
All right, cool. And this was Hal Rudnick for episode 3 of The Ramble. I hope you guys have a nice, safe week. And thanks again, Hal. Have a great, great day.
Thanks for having me, Mervin.